Right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hope everybody gets a chance to go outside today. Spring feels like it might be here. At least I'm in Southeast Michigan, so I like the sunshine out today. So welcome to the March 21st, 2023 edition of the Michigan PR Group meeting. So got a question, who's got a question for the group? Something that's worked, something that hasn't worked, or just a good old question for the group? Hold on. Go for it, Heather. Just chime on in.
So I took over a lot of our marketing in January. I went to a full-time position, and I'm trying to find ways to market specific resources to the people who want them. So we have brain fuse tutoring, and I made little quarter sheet flyers with a QR code to them and put one in each of our study rooms. And we more than doubled the use of brain fuse in 1 month.
That's a great idea. I think I'm going to, if you don't mind, and that's the point of this group, is to steal these ideas.
Yeah, go for it.
Because we have a lot of good group study rooms at my library, so.
Yeah, it's like, I'm trying to figure out how to target people who want a specific thing where they're at. And I figure if you're in a study room, you might want study resources.
That's a wonderful idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Yep.
So kudos to you, Heather. And thank you for giving us an idea that a lot of us can replicate. Who else has a success from the past month or beyond?
I don't know. I guess it's a success. We had some old computers that we refurbished, some desktops, and we put them out there for sale for $50 cash. And in about an hour, they were all gone. So we have more people that want them. So I don't know if you have old stuff you want to get rid of, your patrons will probably take it. So it was amazing. I mean, I just put one email out and they were gone instantaneously. So that was nice.
It's always nice to get rid of the old stuff too. Otherwise it just clutters up the basement or the storage room.
Yeah.
And then Natasha put in chat that they had a meeting with their Parks and Rec about how they better cross promote. That's a wonderful one. So to work within work within your city, so because you're not competing, you can help each other out. Oh, and even better, they're directly across the street from one another. So that's always wonderful. And it's like, all you have to do is go across there.
Well, one thing is, I'm not going to call it a success yet because it's just about to start, but we're finalizing the last few dates for the Michigan Notable Books author tour, and we're hoping, Mindy and I were just talking earlier today about getting the full list out today on our website. And I know there's already a bunch of things that are up on there on the Library of Michigan's website for notable books. So if there is anything that people are looking for that they haven't been able to find, or if there's anything that would be helpful for helping to promote the program, either in your library if you're not a tour spot, or if you are a tour location, because I believe, if I'm looking at the list right now, Southfield is one of them.
Yeah, but we just got ours finalized yesterday. We took
Yeah.
a bit, but
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If there's anything that people have right now that they're looking for, or if they've got, we're since Mindy and I are still somewhat new with this, we're always on the lookout for comments from folks in order to be able to help out with it, whether it's promoting the program itself or when the tour starts in April.
up and Kristen put in chat that they're hosting Anne Marie Oman on April 6th for the Michigan Notable Books. So
Nice.
well, Adam, I'll just chime in. I'm a big fan of the Michigan Notable Books. Every year, every January, it's like, ooh, I'm the bad thing is I'm always adding to my to read list when that comes out. So
Yeah.
but I always love seeing the different books that are highlighted, and the committee always does a great job of highlighting, such a wide variety of books from across the states. And we try to always put up at least one Michigan Notable Book like display, because since it's been going on so long, it's easy to pull books from the collection for it. So, and St. Clair Shores is going to be hosting on May 11th. They're hosting Sally Howell, and I'm going to probably mispronounce this, Hassan Zainadine.
That sounds about right. I have a bit of a struggle with that one too. I think that's the one that takes place or deals with the places like Dearborn and the different communities that are over in that part of the state. I will admit I have not read all of them. I still need to get it. Like you, I have them on my list that I need to get to. I'm not on the committee itself, so I didn't have to go through reading several hundred titles, but I know that one thing we're certainly going to try and do is have a few of us staff go to some of them so we can kind of see how things are going and learn from how some of the author events are itself. So Kelly, you might either see me or Mindy or Matt Pacer show up, so don't be surprised.
Everybody is welcome. Hey, I get to count you as in my attendance
I know.
numbers.
We're adding to the stat numbers too. That's we're trying to help everybody with that.
And I don't know if everybody else does this, but my philosophy in programming, if somebody stops by for more than 5 seconds, you're counted.
Mm-hmm.
So that person just came in to peek their head in the door, I count them.
Yes.
Because I feel as libraries, we always undercount ourselves, like when it's from reference questions to program stats, we got to do it the way businesses do. If you showed a bit of an interest, you're counted.
One thing that I only learned about quite recently, and maybe everybody else might already know about this, is the Great Reads from Great Places program that the National Center for the Book puts on. And if you're looking for developing a sort of a rotating set of displays that feature on like Michigan states, this might be kind of a cool thing to do, because we're just about to submit our next 2 titles. I won't say what they are because I don't want to reveal them yet. But I know that we'll have an adult and a youth focused one that should be coming out to be added to the list for the 2023 selections. But I only learned about it recently from Mindy, so it's kind of another cool place if you're trying to set up something that you wanted to rotate between, books on Iowa or Kansas or Virginia or something like that. You have a ready set of titles that have a focus over the that have been submitted over the last few years.
That's cool. I didn't know about it. Adam did post the link in the chat if you hadn't seen that already. So thanks. And also to chime in from the chat from a little bit ago, Alyssa from Brandon Township said they're using Chevy in the Hole is going to be their 2023 community read. That was a Michigan notable book in the past. So, so sounds like one that people could get behind there.
Yep.
I have a question I could share with the group, just wondering how people, as far as numbers of people coming into the library and attending events since the pandemic, if you're seeing people coming in person, if you're still doing virtual events. I'm just curious how everybody's doing as far as getting people back in the library.
I'll chime in for Southfield. Our numbers aren't quite to where we used to be. We are slowly creeping up though. We do 90% of our programs are in person. We have a few book clubs that are hybrid. And I don't think we have any that are just strictly virtual programs anymore. Yes, hi Midnight. My puppy dog here, chiming in, everybody. My work from home day. One thing I've noticed though, and I'm curious if everybody else has noticed this as well, for our programs, people do not come out to just like a lecture style program as much anymore. So author visits are way down. Anything that's just like listen to it, we're not getting the attendance, but our interactive programs like photography walk, any crafting type programs, we had a head wrapping program. Those style that are a little more on the interactive side, they're coming out in droves for. And I'll chime in with from the chat we've had. Let me scroll up here so I get it. From Natasha, she said that they've stopped their virtual events because no one was coming. And Alyssa from Brandon Township also said the same, that their community is just over virtual programming. And Kristen said they phased out their virtual events. Foot traffic has increased and they're seeing lots of new faces at the library. So that's great.
Just to kind of build off of what Kelly said, like your lecture style programs, we haven't had a successful like author read or like meet and greet type programs since COVID, but our like historical presentations or genealogy presentations, like those sort of presentations are still really well attended. But unfortunately, we've tried a few local authors in the last 9 months or so, and yeah, they're not super well attended.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world out there now, and we have to figure out what works for our communities now. I'll share something cool that I don't know if anybody else could replicate this necessarily, but we had last week, Thursday, Little Guide Detroit, which is a local mom/mommy group thing. She runs a blog and a website, but she posted on Facebook and Instagram that she had visited our library and posted just 6 pictures and a little like, hey, come, they have a great story time, it's cute. And then we happen to have Parks and Rec put in a new playground not too far from the library, within walking distance. And since last Thursday, like we had so many new visitors and people that have never been at the library before, many from outside of the community. And I personally don't care about, I don't care where you're coming from, so long as you visit the library, I'm good with that. So, you know, that was a huge boost. I actually wrote yesterday to thank her for that. And just let her know the impact that she did have. So I guess if you have a local influencer, you know, invite them to your library. They do have an impact. And Natasha even saw that one. Cool. I think some of the fun comments I saw, like it got shared 700 times as of yesterday. It had like 500 comments on it. And like what was fun is people are being like, that's halfway between you and me. Let's meet with our kids there. And you know, those were kind of fun statements to see. So if anybody else is in Metro Detroit, reach out to Little Guide Detroit to have them, you know, visit. Or, you know, the equivalent, I know that like there, it's a Hula Frog. There's another mommy blog, like Metro Parent type one. So if they're, you know, in your area, reach out to them, I guess, is what I've gotten from this. Who else has a question for the group or a success they can share?
I have a question.
Yay.
I'm curious. This is Heather from Plymouth, and I'm curious,
Heather.
what do you all do about discards, either from your friends or from your own weeding? Is anybody using sustainable shelves for B&T? Are you doing Baker or doing Better World, or have you found some other good solution?
I can say in Southfield, we have not. If it doesn't go to our friends group, you know, it's hitting the recycling bin.
Okay.
But Natasha chimed in that Habitat for Humanity takes used books. So.
Natasha, are you mailing them? Are you dropping them off to Habitat? Ah, okay.
So Natasha wrote, if you hadn't seen the chat, that she hasn't donated yet, but she just was looking into it yesterday. So.
So Kelly, when you direct books to your friends group, are you removing all the labeling and stamping, or, you know, are you deprocessing them, or are you just going stickers and all to the friends?
They just go stickers and all the friends. We do take them out of the, obviously take them out of the catalog first,
Sure.
and then we slash the RFID reader. So hopefully it won't beep, although occasionally they still make it through and you'll have somebody leaving our bookstore and beeping. But that doesn't happen too often. But yeah, no, we don't take off stickers or anything else. It's known that it was a former library book.
Okay. Thanks.
And nobody has, as far as I know, nobody's had an issue with it. So the friends have never mentioned anything to me.
Thanks for the input.
At SHPL, they slash the barcode and then stamp of the library name goes on the binding, and they put it right straight to their friends after that, and they put a sticker over the call number on the spine. So that's what they do. Yeah, I think we might add a released from circulation stamp.
Yeah. Thanks.
Oh, that's a good idea. They also have their friends have a clearance cart, and sits there for a week, and if it doesn't go there, that's when it hits recycling. That's a good idea. What our friends do, and we're lucky enough that we have an entire basement and the friends have access to a good portion of that. So we actually, the ones that don't really sell, we set them aside, and twice a year we do a bag sale. So basically you buy a bag for $3 and you can fill it with as many books as you can fit in that bag, and people go gangbusters on those sales. And it's a good way to get rid of it. But what's left after that then sometimes does hit the recycling bin, or it's saved for the next go around.
Does everybody else's friends group receive their discards? Is that pretty standard?
That's what we do
Yeah.
in
Okay.
Grosse Pointe. And we do the bag sale too, like Kelly was saying. And then we also have, we started during the pandemic. We just have a little cart that says free books. And we just put them out there and people take them.
Okay.
So we've been doing that in addition to giving the friends stuff. So we used to use, I think during the pandemic, we did the Better World books and the thing that you mentioned, Heather, about the Baker and
Sustainable
Taylor
shelves,
sustainable
yeah.
shelves, right? But I think it didn't really work as well for us, so we ditched that, and now we're just
It seems definitely labor intensive, a lot of back
yes,
and forth, you know, send your list and wait for it to come back.
right.
And
So we ditched that. It was
Okay.
too much. So the friends, and then like I said, we just do a little cart with free books and people take them.
Okay, thanks.
Just to get rid of stuff, you know.
Yep. The reason I'm, you know, we're really digging into this, trying to be a little more environmentally friendly and send less to the landfill. And we do Better World books, but they take so little, you know, so that's why we're digging a little bit deeper. But we have hesitancy about putting the friends books in the used book sale because of the, you know, the messaging with the public. Either our tax dollars bought these books and now you're charging us for them again, or our tax dollars bought these books. Why are you getting rid of all of them for such a cheap price? Like, you kind of can't win on the friend sale. But we haven't sent a lot to the friends yet. So that's why I'm just kind of curious what kind of, if people are getting that pushback, if you're
We never,
utilizing
and
the
I
friend
should
sale.
knock on wood because I'm probably jinxing myself right now, but we've never had any issues. And like Kelly was saying, we don't take our stuff. I mean, they know that it's a library book
Yeah.
when we, you know, and not, like I said, knock on wood, we've never had anybody have a little fit about it. So I think they're happy that
Mhm.
they have a pretty nice book.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
like a buck, you know, so.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we've never had, I've read those stories. They come up like, oh my God, there's a dumpster full of books. And, you know, I always, if people question me about it, I get that occasionally. I just always say, you have to make room for the new books. You know, we only
Yeah,
have
right.
so much shelf space. And
Right,
usually
right.
once you explain it like that, like if you want new books, if you want us to keep everything, that's wonderful, but there's no new books coming in then.
Yeah.
And we did have a thing several years ago. Someone saw books in a dumpster and went crazy and, you know, had a fit. So now we make sure that we kind of don't have the book. If we have to throw them in a dumpster, we sort of hide them in there. So you can't look
Yeah.
in there. And I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's crazy that people are looking in dumpsters. And I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's weird, but we, you know, we try to be a little more clandestine
Yeah.
about throwing books away because people have, they have a conniption about it. But what are you going to do? I mean, like you said, Kelly, you got to make room for the new books. So
And Natasha just
can
put in the chat that dumpster diving is a huge trend on TikTok.
We, I'm from Vassar, Bullard Stafford Memorial Library. We give most of our books to friends, and we have an ongoing sale with those. And then once a year, they do the big sale, which goes fabulously. But we also use them for a lot of recycling with craft classes, activities. I'm always back there looking for, especially if they're getting a little yellowed. And then we do a lot of different, and those classes go really well for us, whether it's just folding the pages or making something else completely different with them. And we use everything, the hardcover. We've done journaling classes, junk journals. So we just get really creative and use every piece of the book that we can.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, that's a good way to reuse them and not go to the landfills. That creative upcycling.
I have another question that's more PR related. And I think we talked about this probably about a year ago, but I'm curious to bring it up again is I'm wondering how successful people are at getting coverage from your either local newspaper or from the bigger newspapers, and what kind of timing are you using if you're sending press releases, or are you going direct to like calendars, sending to a calendar oversight? Or I'm just kind of curious, how are people reaching newspapers, if you are at all, and are you having any luck with that?
It's very difficult with our local paper, although we did just get a nice article. Press releases get no attention from our paper. We go right to the editor or their most popular photographer and get him to come in and take the pictures, and then they'll go with those. But as far as press releases, they ignore them, or the calendar. Those are so set in our area for the reoccurring things that it doesn't show up there either.
We have pretty good luck with the local papers. I don't do a ton of press releases. I try to just do big stuff. Like we have our big author event coming up this spring. As far as getting anything in the Detroit papers, I've really struggled with that. I'm trying to be strategic and talk to people who know people and say, hey, can you contact that person? And every once in a while something will catch, but it's tough. And I think the key is to have a relationship with someone at whichever media you're reaching out to. We're fortunate in Grosse Pointe. It's a relatively small community, so I do know the people at the papers, and they're really good about covering the library, so we're very lucky there. And we have a little community magazine, and they always have stuff about the library. But as far as the free press and the news, it's a challenge because they don't care. So it's tough. And I try to get maybe the local, some of the TV stations. I've had a couple of times when I've been lucky. One time we had the local meteorologist who lives in our community, and was on Channel 4 do a story time, and it was during the pandemic, so it was virtual. And then he did some stories about the library, which was, I didn't ask him to, but he did it. So I've had a little bit of success, but it is tough. It's really tough.
Okay.
And then I try to do just like a media advisory as opposed to a full press release. It's just like a who, what, when, where, why kind of a thing on a quick one sheet. If you're having, like we were doing a ribbon cutting or something. And that seems to be, something quick and easy. And as the other woman, was it Pamela that mentioned having the photographer. So the photographer for one of the local papers is a big library user, and she is always taking photos and doing a lot of and then I hire her to do for our big events. I hire her to take photos, and then you can be 99% sure that there'll be some photos and cut lines
That's interesting.
So that works too, but it's hard.
Well, I can even say, even at the state level, press releases for us aren't exactly, you're not
Dying breed, huh?
Well, for us, it's a lengthy process anyways, because when we put together a press release, it can take 3 weeks to a month before it actually goes live. So because it has to go through this MDE checklist process. But even when it does go out, you will, like when I can say when the Notable Books press release went out, I would say maybe a half dozen papers across the state probably picked it up and directly quoted it. Now, we do have a relationship with the Detroit Free Press where by tradition, the notable books list has always been put out in there. But when other things have gone out, like when we announced the Michigan Author Award last year, you would think that would get a lot of coverage, but I think it was maybe a half dozen papers that had picked it up. Some local to where, because when it was Larry Massey last year that, you know, like probably the Grand Rapids Press or somebody, or no, I think it was the Allegan News had picked it up, and a few other papers, but we've tended to draw more towards using our e-bulletin, because I was able to gather like all the email addresses of all the different organizations that we wanted to target. So like historical societies, other different groups, depending on what the topics were that we were going to hit up. And then, you know, I'll usually always throw that on Michelin because we want all the libraries in Michigan to see that type of stuff too.
Yeah.
So
I'm seeing Kristen's comments in the chat about local Facebook groups. So that was sort of the second part of my question. So the reason I'm curious about this and that I bring it up is that Plymouth is celebrating our centennial this year. So we're doing a lot of celebrating around that. And we're also digging into the history records a lot, you know, old photos and old articles. And I'm sort of in this place of awareness right now about how transient the internet and the Facebook groups, the Facebook posting, the social media is. And I feel like, you know, as I'm looking at us reaching our 100-year, and I'm going back to these newspaper articles to find the names of people and the things that happened and when the building was seeing changes, and sort of, you know, I'm in a sort of contemplative place about the future and people's ability to look 100 years from now about where we're at now. And if the papers aren't picking it up, and, you know, aside from the Wayback Machine on the internet, like, you know, I'm in this contemplative place about where is the historical record going forward. And so I feel like, at least for the big things, I'm inclined to want to reach the papers for that reason, you know?
Yeah, I've also been looking back, and I've been thinking the same things, but I don't know what we can change beyond try to reach the papers for the big things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it doesn't help that papers themselves are dying too. I mean, you look at some of the smaller ones that, I mean, if you look at the ones in which we're receiving microfilm from, that has become certainly less and less.
Yeah.
And
so what's the new historical record, I guess, is the question. As librarians, should we be?
Well, some of them will always have to
mean,
be there, because I think legally for some, you have to have a public notice. And so the local paper is considered that. It's just, I think less and less of them will be in existence. If you really want to have an interesting conversation, talk with the library director up in Munising, because right now I think the paper up there, the longstanding paper is gone, and somebody has been trying to set up a new one because they need to have something that's that legal public notice platform. But there's been some sort of issues with how, some sort of difficulties with how that person is barriers that they're reaching in order to be able to establish this new paper. And it has something to do with the old one and some of the copyrights of how that one had been like the paper of legal notice, but because it doesn't exist anymore, they can't transfer that status to a different one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Seems like almost no good deed there goes unpunished. So for that, trying to set up something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know in the chat, people have said that local Facebook groups are working for them. And Philomena mentioned that she has not had success with posting lists of events to local papers, but they are going to post their friend's spring book sale. And they've had no luck with the news, Detroit News or Free Press.
The other question I have is anybody sending out photos after events of like this happened at the library for local papers to pick up and run with?
I've not tried that. I do post them up onto Facebook or Instagram, but
Okay.
The only time that works for us is if the photographer is there at the event and then does it, but I haven't done that, proactively
Okay.
I haven't done that.
and Jamie says that they do it on occasion. What are you chewing on?
I know one thing that does help with us is that we have a relationship with one of the smaller papers in the Ingham County area, the Lansing City Pulse. And part of that is because one of the key writers is on the Michigan Notable Books Committee, which helps. And plus he's also president of the Greater Lansing Historical Society. So sometimes if you can start making inroads with people like that, it can help get a bit more publicity out.
Yeah, that
but-
speaks to Mary's point about making relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, though I think Bill is kind of a unique guy that he just happens to have his hands in a lot of different things, and it's
Mm.
been good continuing that relationship with him. And I'm not sure if all other communities have that same type of availability. I will ask though, for your 100th anniversary event, did Randy get an invite?
We only sent actual physical invites to like close local Plymouth
Okay.
and then some government folks, but we've been just it's open to the general public. So we've been
Okay.
opening, but it's a paid ticket situation. So
Oh, okay, gotcha.
it's a fundraiser. We're doing a gala, but it's a fundraiser also
Okay.
for some big plans at the library. So
Because Randy will sometimes go to these things and then he'll forget to give me photos to post, and so I always ask. He's gotten better about it.
Yep, but I thank you for mentioning that, Adam, because now that I'm like, okay, I'm adding Randy to my mental list for our 20th anniversary event in September to make sure to send him an invite. So
Yeah. Well, if he doesn't go, let me know. I'll come.
okay.
I like coming to that stuff. I think that one of the first things I did was when I started working here was Salem South Lion had a big opening, and he was there, and I was just like, well, I'm gonna go. I've never gone to one of these things before, so
nice.
Well-
Well, we'd love to have you.
yeah. I think it's fun representing the Library of Michigan and that sort of stuff. So
That's great. That's great.
Well, I'm going to send you both invites. So.
okay, cool.
Sorry for the feedback if you're hearing that. My dogs are wrestling behind me. The trouble of working from home one day a week.
I have a question for the group.
Yeah.
This is Stephanie. I work at the Braille and Talking Book Library. I'm actually in the Library of Michigan building on the first floor with near Adam. But
You're probably like directly below me.
yeah, yeah, they're doing remodeling right now. So
Yeah.
fun. Anyway, I am looking into some conferences, upcoming conferences our organization's kind of pushing trainings. And one that I came across is the Library Marketing and Communications Conference that I think is taking place in Indiana, if I'm remembering correctly.
Indianapolis. Yeah.
Now, are any of you familiar with that? Do you recommend it?
Yes. I've
Yes.
gone 2 or 3 times now. It is fabulous. When I first started in the library, I'm a marketing person. I'm not a librarian, and I didn't know anybody anyway. And that was the first conference that I went to. That's when it was in St. Louis. I think it was 2019 probably. And then, the pandemic hit, but it is an excellent conference, and I would highly recommend it for anybody in, marketing and libraries to attend. It's
I
really,
would second
really
that. I
great.
went for the first time last year and thought it was
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah, it's really good.
Awesome. That makes me very happy. Thank you for that feedback.
And Stephanie asked if we could say the name of the conference one more time, and I want to make sure I don't have it offhand.
Oh, yeah. Library, Marketing, and Communications Conference. From what I read on it, it's just like a group of volunteers that kind of put it on. So I don't really have any idea how large of a conference it is. That's why I was looking for some feedback on it. But it sounds like it'd be worthwhile. And with it being right in Indiana, you know, that's only what, like a 4-hour drive from us. So it's
Yeah.
definitely on the cheaper end of travel for me and my organization. So that would be good.
It was very well organized and executed, and
Sweet.
good speakers.
They have different tracks, so you can, you know, based on, you know, they have public library and university
and-
library. Yeah, academic, thank you. And then there's different tracks like web or design, or, you know, I mean, it's really, really good. And there's, I don't know, 400 or 500 people, I
Okay.
think. Wouldn't you say, Heather? I mean, it was
I would guess that too.
very
yeah.
well, you know, and it's from all over, all, you know, all different types of libraries, really good for networking.
Mhm.
It's definitely worth going to.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for the group?
On the topic of Facebook groups, I'm curious, we had a sort of interesting thing come up for the first time this week, that we had another local organization that was promoting our youth events, but doing so by creating their own graphics and their own, like, you know, Facebook graphics where they were just like promoting for us, but didn't get the information entirely right. And like I say, just coming up with their own graphics rather than reposting ours. We've been posting our events less, so that's probably the reason. They just wanted to, you know, they wanted to share that information with their kid-centric population, but rather than reaching out to us or reposting something of our own, they made their own. Has anybody had that same experience?
That seems like a lot of extra work on their part.
Strange, yeah.
Well, I know there's been a couple times that I've seen in previous years where when people were putting together graphics for, like, when a notable books author was coming, that they used some of our old logos. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why we put together a what do I call it? It's a oh, what's the thing on our website? It's a media kit on our website so that people can get the current logos and the current font colors and styles and all that different stuff. And I think that's kind of helped cut down on a bit of that. I mean, it doesn't necessarily help with like the language of what that people are using for some of it, but at least it's giving them a bit of direction. So yeah, it's happened before. And you know, there's also been, I should ask Kelly, is this being recorded right now or not?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, I will say something that's been kind of interesting is that we've discovered a few years ago that there was a group that's now called the UP Notable Books List. And it was interesting seeing that, because if you look at their name versus the name of the Michigan Notable Books List, it's, I'll let you guys figure out what we sort of think about that.
Yeah. The other thing that came up this week is there are some kind of kid-centric Facebook groups in town that are reposting our information or just coming up with their own posts of our information that when you go to their sites, there's not a lot there other than advertising and not a lot of other local, you know, they've sort of built themselves as a local, you know, things that are happening for families, but there's not a whole lot of other action there from other entities. And it kind of, I don't know, it just makes us a little bit like, what, you know, is it okay to be, is it okay to welcome that kind of coverage? And what is the intent there? And is it, I mean, it's obviously the intent is to just make money for whoever's heading the thing up, but is there any harms associated with, you know, a group like that reposting your stuff? Or
I've had that happen before, and how I've dealt with it is ignore it, because usually I find places like that after a couple months they're gone. You know, they don't find there's not a lot of money to be made from it. I don't, you know, reach out to them because I find, you know, they're just reposting, so they're not going to tweak anything or work with you. I just ignore it, and I figure if anybody else goes to that site, they're going to see that this isn't worth my time. So
has anybody had positive experiences with that kind of reposting entity? Or I don't know, maybe you can't even really tell, you know, if people are coming from something that's not yours. Maybe it's hard to tell where people are coming to you from.
It's an organization that they're co-hosting the event with you, or they're
No, they're just posting about you. They're just marketing for us without any input from us.
That's weird. If they aren't co-hosting something with us, I've only ever had someone just repost what I post. So that's bizarre.
Yeah, it's kind of strange.
And have you reached out to them?
This was just in the last couple of days, and there was these two different entities, and one, the one that was posting erroneous information, the lead of our social media team did reach out to. The other, we just kind of letting it sit because they're actually reposting our stuff. But I was just kind of curious. This is the first time we've kind of seen this kind of activity, so I'm just curious if others see that same kind of thing.
We have organizations that we co-host events with, and they sometimes make their own flyers, but you know, the information's always correct.
Yeah.
And so I never get too bent out of shape about it because it's still directing feet into my building.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But that's something that's never happened to me.
As an aside on the topic of co-hosting, we had a really successful program recently with the Daughters of the American Revolution, offering like a workshop for people doing genealogy search, people who have, you know, kind of gotten stuck on their search and need a little help to get past a stuck spot. And that was pretty successful. If anybody's looking to do a genealogy program, the DAR might be a resource for you.
Yeah, they are good. We just did a program with them. It was supposed to be February. Snowstorm happened. We just redid it last week. And it was a specific family that was in Southfield that has traced their African-American ancestor back to the Revolutionary War and how they got through it. And we had DAR representatives there, and it was really good. So they're a far more active group than I would have ever realized.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since you bring that up, I'm going to mention the Library of Michigan's programs that are somewhat related to that. I'm going to put the link in, and these are all virtual. So if you're ever wanting to direct people to other programs, we've got a lot of people from across the state and a few out of state. So, and I know later on this year, we'll start looking at what our schedule is going to look like for next year. And we've got the recordings on there too. So if you're ever looking to, you know, just post something and say like, hey, you know, if you want to learn more about, you know, this topic, here's a recording of it. And you can, and we've got, I think about 2 or 3 years back on our website. So if you're looking for just easy content, or I was at, Grace Dow on Midland, and they have the schedule up so that people can grab those too.
Thanks.
Yep.
And Heather posted in the chat that they had a co-host situation where their co-host promotional materials didn't mention registration was required. And I could see how that could cause a mishap there. Especially if people are like, I didn't know I had to. So yeah, I guess in that situation, you got to be a little more proactive than how I just said. Sometimes I just let it go.
Do most of you invite or require library card for program sign up And or is anybody inviting library card scanning when people arrive for programs so that you can count and track it?
No,
Just open.
yeah. Sorry, Bill. Nope, we open it to everybody. So I know, on some of the more popular programs, it would be a good option. But like our registration software, we could put a blank line in there for your library card number, but there would be no way to automatically cross-check it. And let's see, Philomena says they don't require library cards, but Natasha says that their programs do require a library card and they check off names when they come to the events like Lap Set or Toddler Time for them.
Hey, I'm gonna bug out. I got a meeting group that showed up with no reservation. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, fun. Thanks, Heather.
Bye-bye.
Does anyone else have anything for the group today? Otherwise, our next meeting will be on, let's see, looks like it's tax day, April 18th. Or I don't know why that's tax day, because isn't that April 15th? Who knows what Google has showing me there, but the third Tuesday in April, we'll meet again. So I'll see everybody then. Have a great month in the meantime, everybody. Oh, wait,
Can I ask
Natasha's got a question. She wants to suggest a presenter. So Kevin Wood, who does Abe Lincoln impersonations. So great.
I have a question.
Yeah.
These links to these meetings always go to my deputy director. I do the marketing for our library. How can I get my email on the list? Because I
Okay.
you with them going to her.
I'm gonna pop, we have a link that you can sign up to it directly. I'm gonna put my email in the chat here.
Okay.
Send me an email and I will happily send you the link because it's a listserv, so you add yourself, but I'll make sure to send you the link directly because we certainly want you here, Pamela, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, otherwise we'll see everybody in April. Thanks so much.
Bye, thank you.